Hi, this is Ken Lewis, audioschoolonline.com. Good to see you again. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a break from mixing and show you guys some nice delay tricks. This is going to be, I'd say anybody from a beginner to maybe intermediate would probably get a lot out of this. Let's go. So what is delay? Well, most people think of delay as this kind of repeat of the sound that you're hearing. After you hear it once, then you hear the repeat of it again, and that's called a delay. Let me show you a really basic example using Echo Boy. Echo Boy is typically my favorite delay, the one that I'd say I get the most use out of during a mixing situation. So here is a standard delay.
All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night.
So you can hear that vocal. I'm going to play it one more time dry, and then I'll add.
All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night.
Okay, so I think that's kind of what generally most people think of as delay when that term comes up. But delay can encompass a whole lot of different things. You can come up with really cool rhythmic patterns with delays. You can make delays sound a whole lot like reverbs. You can add depth to sounds with delays. A lot of times I use delays to thicken up lead vocals, to thicken up background vocals, and when I do that, typically I'll use shorter delay times with a lead vocal, maybe anywhere from 80 to 150 milliseconds, with low to no feedback. I'll show you that in a bit. I want to show you just some basic techniques. A lot of times you'll hear the word milliseconds. So what the heck is a millisecond, and what does it have to do with delays? So I'm going to dial up just a stock track delay. Everybody with Pro Tools has this. Every basic recording software has it. Logic, Ableton, Cubase, Motu, whatever. So right here it says 234 milliseconds. 234 ms. So a millisecond is probably the easiest way to say it is for every 1 second, 1001, 1002, 1003, each single second has 1,000 milliseconds. So if I'm counting 1001, 1002, 1003, I just counted 3,000 milliseconds. So if I see a delay time of 233, that's roughly a quarter of a second. If I see a 500 millisecond delay time, that's roughly, that's exactly a half a second. So you can start to kind of extrapolate delay times using milliseconds. If you have 1,000 millisecond delay time, you have a 1 second delay. Hopefully that makes sense. Most people nowadays use delays in what we call synced to tempo, or tempo synced, which is, if you'll see this box right here, says tempo meter. So my tempo is locked at 128, and if I just want to put, let's start with a quarter note because that's easiest. 468 milliseconds is a quarter note at this particular tempo. Tempo changes it. I'm going to show you what a quarter note delay sounds like. So the quarter note is like the way the kick drum is hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of those hits is a quarter note in length. So this will repeat with the
All night, all night, all night, all night.
Okay. Now if I go eighth note.
All night, all night, all night.
Here it gets.
All night, all night, all.
Here it gets basically twice as fast as a quarter note. So an eighth note is twice as fast as a quarter note. a quarter note is twice as fast as a half note. A half note is twice as fast as a whole note. And then you get more complicated. I think that's maybe a little bit above this, but you can go into dotted quarter notes or 16th notes or any kind of musical phrasing for the timing of what your delay times do. Another thing I want to show you is feedback. What the heck is feedback? I'm going to zero it out right now. Feedback is basically a fancy way of saying how much repetition is in your delay. So the higher the feedback number, the more your delay will repeat over and over and over and gently fade out. The lower your feedback, the fewer repeats you'll get. So if I go to a quarter note delay with 0 feedback, it will repeat 1 time and die.
All night, all night,
That's it. 1 repeat. Now if I add maybe 10% delay, or sorry, 10% feedback, 11% feedback.
all night.
Here you start getting a little bit of a trail. Let me go up to 30 so you can start hearing it actually repeat.
All night.
So 30 starts getting to be like a decent amount of repeats. Now if I went up to like 60, you'll really see what a high feedback ratio does.
All night.
Alright, I think you get that concept. The other thing I want to touch on with delays is this LPF. What the heck is LPF? LPF stands for low pass filter. Low pass filter. What a low pass filter does, it's basically a one-band equalizer that lets all frequencies below what frequency you set pass or go through or be heard. Low pass. If you see the opposite, like a high pass filter, like a HPF, it would let all frequencies above whatever your filter frequency is through, but it would cut all of your low frequencies up to that frequency. That would be a high pass filter. This is a low pass filter, so it's letting all the low frequencies go through up to a certain whatever the crossover frequency is set, and it's cutting all of your high frequency above that. So right now there's no filtering at all. If I bring this down to say 1.5K, you can really hear how it's starting to filter the high end.
All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night.
So if you were paying attention, you saw that that last go round of vocal, I swept the low pass filter gradually up. I started about 1.5K and I sloped it up until it was completely open, so you could hear it go from dark repeats to slightly less dark repeats to full bandwidth repeats. So that's what the low pass filter does. The high pass filter does the exact opposite. Keeps the high frequency, gets rid of the low frequency. So I'm going to show you the ping pong delays. I'm going to go back to Echo Boy, which is typically my go-to, especially for ping pong delays. Although I like H delay for ping pong delays as well. So right here, I'm going to set it from single echo to ping pong. So ping pong echo, basically what that means is you're going to feed the delay a signal, and it's going to ping pong delay here first, then over to here, then over to here, then over to here, then over to here. It's just going to go back and forth. Sometimes this is called a tap delay. It's kind of basically all the same things. So I'm going to give it a bit of feedback, and feedback means the more repeats, the higher the feedback, the more repeats, the lower the feedback, the less repeats. So I'm going to put this on ping pong delay so it'll bounce from left to right. I'm going to give it some feedback. I'm going to give it some high cut so it's a little bit dark, and I'm going to start with an eighth note on one side, Let's just start with eighth notes.
All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night.
Alright, so we have eighth note ping pong delay. Now, just so you can really feel what a ping pong delay does, I'm going to put this up to quarters, and I'm just going to feed a little bit of it, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to let it bounce back and forth for you.
All night, all night, all night, all night.
That's probably the best way to do it. Just feed it one little thing, and you can hear it only go left, right, left, right. And with more feedback is more ping pongs back and forth. Sometimes I'll use ping pong delays on like hi-hats, or like if you're a U2 fan, their guitar player, the Edge, always has these like big sweeping guitar sounds, and the sound seems like it's just coming from everywhere. And what he's doing is he's using ping pong delays or tap delays to play very simple notes and have them just bounce all over the speakers in repeats. And when you start layering notes on top of each other, it's a really cool effect. I'm going to show you a bit of how to do that with a hi-hat. So this hi-hat that I have is a quarter note. Tick, 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 tick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I'm going to show you how to get really creative with this hi-hat. I'm going to keep it in ping pong. I'm going to get rid of the high cut. I'm not going to cut any high frequency because I want all of those, the top end of the hi-hats to come out. And I'm just going to start with eighth notes on each side with a healthy amount of feedback. And I'll start it dry and I'll sweep it in and see what you think.
All night, all night. Hey!
Oh, got a couple hays in there. Let me find those hays and cut them while I'm at it. There we go. Back to Echo Boy. So you couldn't really hear the right side of the repeat because it keeps hitting directly with that quarter note. So I'm going to change the pattern and make this more of like, this is kind of what the Edge does with guitars. And you'll hear it, this kind of really rhythmic, bouncy pattern back and forth. So just that alone gives you this whole brand new rhythmic landscape, and you can imagine if you did that to like a keyboard synth lead, or a vocal, or a hi-hat, or a guitar, or you know, I bet it would even be pretty cool on those hays. I'll show you those in a minute. Let me now I'm gonna switch to the opposite. So pretty amazing stuff you can do pretty easily. If you want just like a single hi-hat like that to sound more like a live drummer, I'm going to go back to single echo mode. And maybe I'll go back to the Digirack just because it's easier to see those. So I'm going to go back to an eighth note Digirack. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna select this on eighth note. I'm gonna have no filtering, no feedback, and listen to what this does. All of a sudden, starts sounding like you got a live drummer again. And if you go to a 16th note pattern, you can get it even more complicated. gotta add some feedback so it'll give you those. Otherwise, it'll just sound like this. Or, this is a bit more complicated, you can go to a dotted eighth. A dotted eighth, basically, a dotted eighth is an eighth note and a 16th note combined into one time frame. So check out what a dotted eighth sounds like. Now let's see what a dotted 16th does. This is going to be really fast. You get like a triplet feel with it. Alright, so what's next on the agenda? I'm going to go back to Echo Boy, and I'm going to show you some like really cool different filters and stuff that's a little more power user-ish. I guess I should probably go back to the vocal on this. Let's go to the haze. So I'm going to start with the basics. I'm going to start with like a stereo quarter note delay on the haze with a fair amount of feedback and no filtering. See, it almost starts sounding like reverb. Everything starts blending together. Let's see the eighth note. That starts sounding a whole lot more like reverb. It's just a little more coherent than reverb is. And if you take some of the high frequency off, it'll be even smoother. So that's a nice way to add some really good depth to a vocal or a hey or a, you know, whatever you want to without adding reverb. This is all delay effects. So I'm going to show you ping pong delays on the haze because I do this quite a lot. Now, when you're doing this to something like a hey in a fairly dense mix, you know, when it's so sparse like this, you can hear all of those repeats a little bit more distinctly. But if you're working in a mix that's got other things going on, synthesizers and vocals and drums and all that stuff, those repeats start to kind of blend together much more easily, and it will just sound like your haze got like bigger and deeper and wider and more affected in a really cool way. Quarter note. So you can see all sorts of different techniques with that. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to get rid of all of the high frequency cutting so the low pass filter is wide open, no filtering. Go back to a single echo. And I'm going to show you some of the, I'm just going to scroll through these style presets so you can kind of see, a lot of delays do this. I think Echo Boy is one of the best ones that does it. And again, one of the reasons that I use it all the time is for this. So the different styles, and they all do kind of different things. Some of my favorites are Memory Man, I really like on vocals. Binsonet I really like on vocals, but when I use Binsonet, I always do a significant amount of high cutting, almost to about there, and that seems to smooth it out really nicely, because Binsonet tends to be a bit bright. And then you can go for kind of the telephone type effects. This isn't really too severe, but it's kind of nice. And then like the shortwave and transmitter are really severe. But you know, I'll just go through a few of them and you can kind of hear the differences. So that gives you an idea, and basically all they're doing is they're modeling those old pieces of gear, and it's mostly just EQ curves, and stereo curves, and is there a thing stereo curves? I don't know. I think I'm making that up. So all right, so I'm going to show you a few more tricks. This one with H delay, I mentioned it earlier about thickening up a vocal with a short delay. Short-ish, like well, let's find out. So I've got the lead vocal dialed up here. I've got a loop set.
All night, all night, all night, all.
So I've got H delay, standard Pro Tools delay. It's currently dialed up to a quarter note, no feedback, almost no feedback.
All night, all night.
Okay, so that sounds more like a repeat. I'm going to go to the milliseconds. Remember we talked about milliseconds earlier. This is 469 milliseconds, almost a half a second delay. I'm going to bring it down to, let's see what 200 sounds like. Just a little bit of feedback, rolling off a little bit of the high end of the delay return.
All night, all night, all night, all night.
So at 200 milliseconds starts sounding a bit more like reverb than delay, really. I'm going to get it down to about, well, let's try 125 milliseconds.
All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night.
There's dry.
All night, all night, all night, all night.
So you hear how much thicker that makes the vocal. It kind of simulates reverb, but really it just gives the vocal some depth to it. And I'll do this a lot in mixes. If you can imagine like the way this vocal would sound in a really dense mix, if it's really dry in your face and you just want to give it some body and some depth and some bigness, you can just put this really simple short delay. And sometimes I'll even go, that's feedback, down to like 80 to 100.
All night, 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 all night.
Hear how much thicker that makes it without really doing too much else to it? Now I'm gonna push the feedback up a little bit, and I'm gonna get the this down to maybe about 50 milliseconds.
All night, 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 all night.
So you can see a whole bunch of different like subtle approaches that you can use delay in a non-traditional way that, you know, you think of delay as being this repeating thing, as opposed to you know, something that can take a vocal and not sound like delay at all, but thicken it up kind of like a reverb without being so spread out and washy. I'm going to show you one other really cool trick that you can do with delay, and I do this to ad-libs a lot. Or anything that I want not in the center. If I want to take a mono vocal and I want to spread it out in stereo, and make it kind of sit in the left and right, but not in the center. So I'm going to take this mono vocal that you've been listening to nonstop, that you're probably very sick of by now, and I'm going to put just a regular digi-rack delay on it, short delay 2, mono to stereo. So I'm going to stereoize it. Okay, right now we have this is just going to be a mono delay.
All night, all night.
It's a little flangy, but it's basically mono. So I'm going to take away all this depth and rate. And here's kind of the tricky part to make this happen. Take the mix of one side and put it at 100. Take the mix of the other side and put it at 0. So your left side is dry, your right side is completely affected. So we're going to set the delay time around 10 milliseconds. No feedback, no modulation, no low pass filter, just wide open, straight 10 millisecond delay, dry on the left, affected on the right.
All night, 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 all night.
So hear how that all of a sudden that spreads it out without it really sounding chorusy or flangy or washy or anything. It just kind of takes what you're doing and spreads out. You could do the same thing with a hi-hat. Let me just move this same patch to the hi-hat track. Is that the hat? No, that's the kick. And you can hear what it does to the hi-hat. So it keeps all the kind of the cohesion of the sound. It keeps the sound sounding like a hi-hat or the vocal sounding like a vocal, but all of a sudden, instead of it something being dead mono, it spreads it out left and right. So, you know, a lot of times what I'll do, if I get like a keyboard patch in a mix that's given to me, and the keyboard is virtually dead mono, but I really don't want it sitting in the center over top of the vocal, I'll do something like this, and I will, you know, spread out that keyboard pad left and right and make it sit kind of on, you know, surrounding the vocal but not stepping on it in between it. You can do this with hi-hats, with vocals, with, you know, I wouldn't do it with like a snare or a kick drum, but you might want to try it. It might work for you great. So I think we covered just about everything. You know, I think this is probably going to be one of those videos that you go back and stop and rewind and replay and check out all of these different things. You know, if you can incorporate all of these different delay techniques into your creation abilities or your mixing techniques, I think you're gonna grow by leaps and bounds. So good luck with it, and hope you enjoyed it. Take care.